Gas pressure occurs when the particles bounce off the walls or bounce off the ceiling, and they create a force.
Yeah, that's our point, moron. Yeah, so exactly. We haven't got the house for the gas pressure.
You've got the container.
Yeah. So again, going back to his point here, pressure equals force over area. Well, without the area, you haven't got a pressure. Do you know what I mean? Anybody disagree?
So he's just digging his hole deep. He keeps on giving us these quotes. I mean, when we have this discussion, I quote him in terms of his support of our argument. He's been asked this question by me about 350 times. He eventually answered it for Arwin. I've got what I need from him. This guy's no longer of use. I can discard him like a used tissue.
But the problem is, everybody that watches this video on his channel will just accept and believe what he says because it's coming from him. He's literally indoctrinating people.
What? With what? That they need... Hold on. He's supporting our argument. What's your issue?
Because what he does is he adds a load of fluff and he... not discombobulates, obfuscates. He obfuscates it that much with fluff that people somehow think that he's managed to persuade them that you can have a gas pressure without a container. But he's literally telling them that you need, for a pressure, you've got to have force over area. Well, if you haven't got an area, then you haven't got a pressure. Sorry, it's literally our point. But here's another example, right? Let's listen to this. It's 15 seconds.
And I've asked this to Anthony Riley, and the response was laughable. What if I'm talking about this point here, right above my carpet on the living room? What is the pressure at this moment, right there, right now?
So what I've done is I've brought in this screen here, and it says, what is pressure? Pressure is a force exerted by the substance per unit area on another substance. Well, in this case, what's the other substance if he's going to be using his carpet as the substance? It's going to be the carpet. The pressure of a gas is the force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container, in this case, the carpet. When you blow air into a balloon, the balloon expands because of the pressure of the air molecules is greater on the inside of the balloon than on the outside. Pressure is a property which determines the direction in which mass flows. If the balloon is released, the air moves from the region of high pressure to the region of low pressure, and the balloon deflates. It's blatantly obvious, isn't it? I don't know why he can hold his position, to be honest.
Well, hold on. He's supporting our position. So my question is, what's the fluff that you described, where you said he manages to go from quite succinctly detailing our argument to convincing his audience that they can somehow have gas pressure without a container? Where's that bit? Well,
the fluff bit is here. So if you want to hear this bit, the fluff, it goes from, what are we on here? 553.
This isn't fluff. This is his argument, right?
But listen to it. Bearing in mind what he's just said about the message before, literally our point. So this is the reaction.
Now the force, we can even calculate, it's the rate of change of momentum of each particle. Just throwing that in there for no reason really. But when they bounce off the walls, they create a force, and the force upon the area of that room will give us the pressure. We know at sea level, the pressure we get is about 14.7 psi. Now, the thing is, and I've asked this to Anthony Riley, and the response was laughable. What if I'm talking about this point here, right above my carpet on the living room? What is the pressure at this moment, right there, right now?
So, all right, that bit wasn't the fluff bit. The fluff bit must be this section here. But my point is that at this point...
Here, an explanation.
All right, so let's see what he says then.
So far, all I've had is a load of ad hom, a load of gish gallop, non-related word salad, then a completely supportive argument for our case. Where's the bit that supports his argument?
Okay, I think it's this bit.
Well, right now, those particles are not colliding on anything. They may be bumping into each other. Okay, so
if they're bumping into each other, they're colliding, right?
Maybe against each other. But what surface are they exerting a force on? It's not until I put an object in that area for those air particles to collide off that I'm going to be able to measure a pressure of 14.7 psi. They need the area to bounce off, to change their momentum against, to create that force, to create that pressure. So this is where the comment, no balloon, no pressure come from, that they obviously take out of context and twist because they're intellectually dishonest and they don't fully understand the concepts and they don't want to understand the concepts. So if I have a balloon here, right, what I was talking about with the whole no balloon, no pressure, I'm talking about the outside of the balloon. If the balloon is there, then the particles are going to strike the outside of the balloon and they're going to cause a pressure of 14.7 psi. You take the balloon away, what surface are they now hitting? They're not. So flat earthers seem to think that somehow the air pushes like a rod, and that fixed sort of structure will push against the ceiling, push against the floor, and unless the air has something to push off, similar to the ridiculous comments about rockets in space, unless the air has something to push off, or unless it's pushing off itself, there can be no pressure pushing outwards. But that, of course, is absolutely ridiculous.
That's called a straw man. That's his response.
Is that it?
That's part of it. But this is where it gets really bad. But that's the fluff. You've just heard the fluff.
I like how he's got all these air particles in a container, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
so far he has done nothing but support our argument.
Should I play this last section again? Because this is the section that all the ballers will hear. They'll ignore everything else. This is what they'll hear.
Anthony, just let me get it straight. So far, he has done nothing but support our argument. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is the bit that ballers will hear.
Similar to the ridiculous comments about rockets in space. Unless the air has something to push off, or unless it's pushing off itself, there can be no pressure pushing outwards. But that, of course, is absolutely ridiculous.
So that's the bit that the ballers will hear, that bit.
Wait, unless the air is pushing off itself?
He's saying that there's some kind of rod. He thinks that we think that there's some kind of rod between the two. It's complete and utter straw man. Nobody's ever said that, ever. But the ballers will think it's ridiculous, our straw man arguments, because he said it's ridiculous. Well, we never even argued this. This is not our position, but he's told them it's our position. It's called gaslighting, and it's straw man argument. We didn't make this.
Who cares? He's just done nothing but support our argument. This is why I discarded him. Who cares? I've got my quotes. His position hasn't changed. You see that box, right? Earth doesn't have that around it. So you know what's going to happen to all those molecules inside that box if you open the box? And the outside of the box has got a differential of pressure, let's say 10 to the minus 17 torr. All those little dots inside that box are going to fuck right off into that empty space. And that would be space. It's his religious belief. So conspiracy flaps, you stupid twat. If you don't have that box, all of those little dots are going to fuck off into that empty space. That's your religion. You've got us with no box around us and a massive differential, 10 to the minus 17 torr, that the gas doesn't go into. All bollocks. All supported by every word he just said.
Yeah. So for the next...
Riley, at some point in this video, does he open the box and explain how the air molecules can stay in the box or something like that? Something to that effect? Or...
Well, just before we get to it, let's just hear what he says here, because this next 2 minutes section, right, it ramps up significantly because it gets that crazy by the end of it. It is just garbage. I mean, what he's talking about here, it doesn't matter. Let's listen to what he says. But just notice how it ramps up with the severity of his claim, right? So let's listen to it. It's crazy. Make that bigger.
They need to be striking a surface. That's what pressure is.
Just play that again.
Between pressure.
Yeah. This is one of the bits that I've put spliced out. This is like one of those sound clips. You ready?
They need to be striking a surface. That's what.
Right. So at the top, what are they striking? Oh, they're striking a vacuum that's 10 to the minus 17 torr. Yeah, I think not. Space is fake, as ably illustrated here by conspiracy cats. They've got to strike something. And what happens if they strike a vacuum? Oh, they don't. They disperse into it. Yeah, that's right, conspiracy flaps. You complete moron. You've supported our argument again. How many more times? How deep do you want to dig yourself into this hole?
He's balls deep. He's like Wiggles. That's how deep he is at the minute. He's as stupid as Wiggles.
He is. He's thick. I mean, I earlier, right, on the show was saying I get really annoyed with teachers because they're smarter, because they get it. right? Flat Earth math drives me mad. I see red because I just see him as getting it, but just laughing in the face of it. He doesn't care about the contradiction. He just sees it's funny. Conspiracy Catz is thick. He's actually stupid.
Yeah, I agree. So we've just heard what he said then. It needs a surface to strike on, but let's listen to the next bit. It's just, honest to God, it just gets worse. Listen.
So what is the difference between pressurized and pressure? Well, this is how I'm going to explain it. And again, obviously, it goes much deeper than this. But if I take a gas, that gas is going to spread out and increase its volume at any given temperature. And as I increase the temperature, the gas is going to spread out even more. And if I increase the amount of gas, the amount of particles there, it will spread out even more. Now, we know this, and anyone who studies sort of like molar calculations and with gases, we know that 1 mole of a gas at a given temperature will occupy a certain volume. And if I increase the amount of gas, it's going to occupy a bigger volume. That's just a demonstrable fact, which we can go into in another video, should anybody actually be interested in that discourse.
Sorry, can you just say that again? I think he's incorrect. Sorry, can you say that again? I think he's wrong. Just let me hear that again.
We know this, and anyone who studies sort of like molar calculations and with gases, we know that 1 mole of a gas at a given temperature will occupy a certain volume. And if I increase the amount of gas, it's going to occupy a bigger volume.
That's rubbish. It'll fill the volume that it's given to fill.
Yeah. But notice how he's got all these dots in a concentration in the middle, but no container.
I want to declare him a fucktard. I want to hear it one more time before I absolutely put my name and stamp to his fucktardery. Let's just hear it once more.
So what is the difference between pressurized and pressure? Well, this is how I'm going to explain it. And again, obviously, it goes much deeper than this. But if I take a gas, that gas is going to spread out and increase its volume at any given temperature. And as I increase the temperature, the gas is going to spread out even more. And if I increase the amount of gas, the amount of particles there, it will spread out even more. Now, we
think
know
the amount of gas dictates how much it spreads out. It spreads out to fill the container. And if you put more gas into the same container, the pressure will increase. So he's wrong.
He is wrong. He thinks that you can have a concentration of gas based on its volume. No, that's not how it works.
It's based on the container.
Correct.
You are. I don't know why I'm getting so in a flap about conspiracy cats. The guy's a fucking retard.
Well, this is his first real point. Up till now, he hasn't really made any points. He's just been like poking the bear. But this...
No. Sorry, Anthony. He has made plenty of points, all in support of our argument that the gas would fill the space.
Yeah, but
Until now, all of the points he made supported our argument and were correct. Now he's talking utter shite.
Yeah. It gets worse, though. Look how it ramps up. It gets worse. So let's hear it.
And anyone who studies sort of like molar calculations and with gases, this gas being able to spread out. What if I put it into a container? So here is the gas. Now
at this point, notice that he's got the same volume as what he's got dots here, but now he's got it in a container. But it can't exist in a container. It can't exist outside of a container here. It's completely wrong. Anybody disagree?
Oh, I see. So where I pointed out that he was just wrong, what he was actually doing was creating a situation where gas can just expand randomly into a random space that it decides based on its molar calculation.
No. What he's saying is that it will expand and fill the available container. But what he's saying is at this point that he's got on screen, which can never exist. This can't exist. This isn't science.
No. That's not what he said. The description he gave prior to this was that the given volume, the given amount of gas would dictate the size that it filled. And if you put more in, it would fill more space. It's like, no, it will fill the container it's in always.
But isn't he saying that with all those arrows pointing outwards? Like, isn't that how the air molecules would act anyway?
He's got a gas. He's got what they think the heliocentric world is. Let's just circle it for the audience, Anthony. That dots, those dots. What's containing those dots? Nothing. They're just a gas in a space under pressure, not filling the space. That's a second law of thermodynamics violation, conspiracy cats. You complete fuckwit.
Correct. Nathan's right.
Law of thermodynamics violation. You think you're clever? No, you can't defy the second law of thermodynamics. Let me school you, conspiracy cats. That little dotty ball in the middle of that vacuum, that's not Earth. That's what you think needs to happen. You need a second law of thermodynamics violation, and the best you can do is dots on a white page with a verbal description of a second law of thermodynamics violation. You complete idiot.
So let's play the rest of the clip.
This time, as I add more gas, it's not going to make the...
I'm not done berating him. Conspiracy cats, you are possibly the most stupid person to ever teach children. How dare you ever consider yourself an educator when you are literally detailing a second law of thermodynamics violation with your pen and paper? You utter disgrace to science. I think I'm done berating him. I might need you to pause it again.
Now, this time, as I add more gas, it's not going to make this. It's not going to make the gas increase in its volume. I have fixed the volume. The volume now cannot change. So,
he genuinely does think that he can have a ball of dots representing gas suspended in the middle of a vacuum.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what he thinks. You complete fuckwit.
Probably worth at this point just pointing out to people that my point to conspiracy cats was exactly this. I said to him, if you can't demonstrate this point, gas pressure in a void without a container, if you can't demonstrate it, it's pseudoscience. The irony with it being from a teacher too. Please demonstrate a gas pressure without a container as you depicted from, and this is the point that we're in, or it's pseudoscience and a science of deception. You cannot have a gas pressure without a container. You are literally pushing pseudoscience from the off. And this is without...
He's making stuff up based on his dots on a piece of paper. What he just detailed, can you circle the circle of dots with the arrows pointing out? Why aren't they going in the direction of the arrows? Why are they just staying there? Is it just based on the amount of dots he thinks he's got? No, they fill the container. You are stupid, conspiracy cats. I hope people cut this out and send it to him. Me, a van driver, telling somebody who educates children just how wrong they are based on the second law of thermodynamics that he clearly does not understand. You stupid idiot. You stupid man. This is me, you conspiracy cats, a fuckwit based on your total stupidity.
It gets worse though, Nathan. So just contain yourself, pardon the pun.
Gas, what happens is there are more collisions between these gas particles and any surface that's inside. Now that will include the inside of the container, but also anything like a balloon that I might put inside the container. So the pressure per square inch is going to increase as I add more and more and more gas because I've got more frequent collisions.
Here we go. This is where it gets silly.
Now, this is really what we mean by pressurized. If I take the walls away, then that gas will expand, and it will expand to a given volume dependent on the temperature and the number of moles or the number of particles of gas that I've got.
So if we take away the container, it will expand. Well, why has he got the not expanded here?
Well, again, we're back to him supporting our argument. So you take away the container. Earth doesn't have a container in the heliocentric world. It's a completely open system. You can travel out to the moon in your fantasy bullshit world. So there is no container. And according to him, it expands out to fill the space. The space, right? So the gas would fill the space. Well, it isn't filling any space. We've got gas pressure. It's not dispersing into some fantasy vacuum. This supports our argument again. So he's gone from a few lapses in cognition where he defies the second law of thermodynamics, then double speaks and says that you have to have a container and it will expand out if you take it away. Completely contrary to the picture next to it.
Yeah, that's the point. It supports us, but also contradicts this bit that he's drawn already, because that's not, you can't have the, if you remove the container, it fills the available space like that guy says, but that's not what he's drew here, which is the beginning of his point. But listen to this next 5 seconds, Nathan. It's horrendous.
But to pressurize something, you fix the volume.
To pressurize something, you fix the volume. How's Earth's volume fixed? This is your minute, Nathan.
I don't know what the problem with that statement is actually, Anthony. If you fix the volume, yeah, i.e. you've got a fixed size container
Yeah.
and you put more gas into it, the pressure will increase.
I agree. But how do you fix the volume on Earth?
Oh, you don't. It's got
Correct.
nothing but endless space to disperse into in
Correct.
their heliocentric world of spinning spheres that we don't live on.
So what I'm saying is his physics is correct at this point, but how do you apply it to Earth? Let's just hear it again so you can picture it in your head.
To pressurize, and you
Supports our argument. This does not apply to Earth. If you apply what he is saying to Earth, apart from the second law of thermodynamics violation he's got drawn in the middle of his piece of paper, except for that bit, everything else he says, if you apply it to Earth, an open system, the gas fills the space, the outer space that we don't have. Because if we did, the gas would fill it, and it doesn't.
So what I'll do is I'll play it again, but let's think about it in the context of Earth, right? What he says is true, but think about it applying to Earth.
to pressurize something, you fix the volume.
To pressurize something, you fix the volume. Right, so how do you pressurize Earth when you can't fix the volume?
Yeah, we don't have a fixed volume. We're sat in an infinite expanding vacuum.
Yeah. No, to be fair, I haven't finished getting through the rest of this yet because I'd only started like annotating it.
What we do, I just had one more point. We don't live in a never-ending expanding vacuum. That is impossible and defies the second law of thermodynamics. So all of this nonsense is nonsense. We're discussing a second law of thermodynamics violation when we discuss the heliocentric version of the world. You can't have a spinning ball with gas stuck to the outside in a vacuum. That's the religion of ball Earth. None of us adhere to that because it is nonsense and defies the second law of thermodynamics.
I haven't gone through the rest of it yet. But yeah, it's shocking. What he's saying in this is just, I can't work out, is he just incapable of recognizing the pseudoscience, or is he deceitfully basically trying to tell people shit just to explain the fact away and hope that they allow themselves to be obfuscated? Or is he just not, he doesn't, for me, he doesn't realize it's pseudoscience.
No, one of his statements defied the second law of thermodynamics. That makes him stupid. No other words for it. He's thick. If he doesn't realize while he's making the statement with those dots drawn with arrows not filling the space, that defies the second law of thermodynamics, that just makes him a moron.
I think for me, this part here is like force equals F, pressure equals, like, if you don't have the area, you haven't got the pressure. It's that simple. And he even says it, but for some reason he's pushing it as though it's like somehow explainable. No, it's not explainable. You're completely wrong, dude. And I don't know why you don't see this.
Anthony, he's too thick to realize that his religion's wrong. So he's defending it, not realizing all he's doing is continually backing our assertion that space is fake with every single description. What area? At the top, not at the bottom, you stupid fucktard. Near the carpet, not near the grass, where we all know we've got fucking pressure. What about the top? Near the space bit that we say isn't real. You're going to worry about that later after defying the second law of thermodynamics with your little dots? Stupid Mongol.
We do 15 seconds and listen to the conclusion. I know I've already done it, but it's just glorious. Let's just do 15 seconds while we pay homage to this dick.
Now, this is really what we mean by pressurized. If I take the walls away, then that gas will expand, and it will expand to a given volume dependent on the temperature and the number of moles or the number of particles of gas that I've got. But to pressurize something, you fix the volume.
To pressurize something, you fix the volume. Right. Apply that
to make around us a big massive set of walls to fix the volume around Earth to get that pressure. Oh, we don't have that in your religion, you stupid dick. You have an open system that you can fly to the bloody moon on, right? No, we don't have a fixed volume. We have an open system with the gas not dispersing into the imaginary medium called space that you've never been to, but believe your priests about. Idiot religious zealot. Constantly backing our argument, you stupid man.
Yeah. And this is what I said to him. Just before the 8-minute mark, you start to make your first point. Lovely story, but can you demonstrate this point, please? That's when he had all the compressed, all the dots that were in that confined area when he was making this bit. How do you have that? Because if you can't demonstrate how this exists, then it's just a story, right? It's pseudoscience. It's not real world. And this is our point. But look at his reaction. His immediate reaction was just ridiculous. It says, and there you go again, deliberately confusing pressure with pressurized, despite me making it clear how different those terms are. Until you start to be more honest with your questions, I won't engage in this debate. Handwave dismissal for a valid point. You are talking pseudoscience with your first point. Good job, sir. And then he says, you're not raising a valid point. You're deliberately asking a dishonest question. Really? Why are you talking about pressurized rather than pressure? Well, I'm lost for words. I can't even have a back and forth with him in this. Anyway, it does go on for a bit, and he keeps talking about stuff, and there's a back and forth. And basically, so there you go. To pressurize something, you fix the volume. We don't have a fixed volume in the atmosphere. So how can there be a pressurized gas without a fixed volume? You can't say shit without realizing this is true, and literally is our point again. Come on, Al, say it slowly. To pressurize something, you fix the volume. There can't be a pressure without a container. You literally admit our point again. He's an absolute idiot, but thinks that he's gaslighting me as well, thinking that I'm he's telling me that I'm stupid. And I'm like, no, dickhead. You're just either not realizing this is pseudoscience, or you know it's pseudoscience and are deliberately deceiving people. One or the other.
I hope that in a given time, I'm feeding back. Is that you?
It's not through me. It must be through Tony.
How was it through me? Look at no levels on mine are moving.
Blah 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 blah.
There we go.
I'm not feeding back anymore. We just did it. No, I'm only joking. Well, that's completely hijacked my point, hasn't it? I'm sorry now.
You said in a given year or something.
Oh yeah, I think in the years that come, I truly hope the kids he's taught this utter shit that he doesn't understand to catch up with him and say, "Why the fuck did you teach me this utter horseshit? Why did you teach me your religious belief? Why didn't you stand up for what was actually true? Why didn't you understand the second law of thermodynamics when you told me about space? You liar." I hope his kids that he's taught and indoctrinated with this utter horseshit that he clearly doesn't understand catch up with him and point it out to him.
It'd be great if we could run into some of his kids on the show and basically explain it to them, because it's blatantly obvious. You can't have gas pressure without a container. But he doesn't get it. He tells us it and admits it, but then somehow doesn't apply it and thinks that somehow he can bullshit his way out of it. But you should go to his channel, guys. Go to Baldy Catz and attack him, because this is a point that literally, you know how we always pin against Paul Voigt and say that the molten iron core evidence against Paul Voigt, and that's his claim. Gas pressure is this guy's claim. He's never going to get away with the gas pressure. So we need to keep pointing at, like throwing stones at him, because the guy's just being dishonest. You can't have gas pressure without some kind of container or receptacle of some kind.
Without a container, there can be no pressure. Conspiracy Catz 2019. Without the balloon, there can be no pressure. Well, what balloon do we have on the outside of Earth? We don't have a balloon. We've got an open system. All he's doing is digging a massive hole, and every time we chuck a few rocks in, he digs the hole even deeper.
Yeah.